We killing each other because we killing ourselves. We not, when another man, I know, I've been in a position, it's out of our control.
Tupac Amaru Shakur. Just saying his name brings back memories. A revolutionary, a poet, a fighter, a voice for the voiceless. He lived fast, he burned bright, and in just 25 short years, Tupac didn't just make music. He changed the world. He showed us pain, love, anger, and hope, all through his words. But who was Tupac really? Behind the tattoos, behind the headlines, behind the guns and gold? Who was the man? This is the real story. A story of family, revolution, betrayal, love, survival, and legacy. His birth and revolutionary roots. Tupac was born on June 16, 1971, in East Harlem, New York City. His original name, Lisanne Parrish Crooks. But just before his first birthday, his mother renamed him Tupac Amaru Shakur, after an 18th century Incan warrior who led a rebellion against Spanish rule and was executed for it. Tupac's new name was not an accident. It was a message. His mother, Afeni Shakur, was a revolutionary herself, a strong black woman, a fighter, and a member of the Black Panther Party. His stepfather, a Black Liberation Army member on the run. Tupac was born into a war against poverty, racism, and injustice. In 1969, while pregnant with Tupac, Afeni was arrested as part of the famous Panther 21 case, accused of plotting bombings across New York. She defended herself in court, pregnant and fearless. And she won. She was acquitted, and just 1 month later, Tupac was born. This was the world Tupac entered, not one of safety, but one of struggle, courage, and resistance. The shadows of activism. Tupac never really had a stable home. His childhood was full of moving, hiding, surviving. The FBI was watching his family. His stepfather was on the run. His mother was always on edge, always fighting. At times, she was also fighting her own demons. Like many others from the struggle, Afeni fell into drug addiction. This tore young Tupac apart. One day, she was a superhero. The next, she was lost to crack cocaine. As a child, Tupac lived among convicted criminals, drug dealers, and hustlers. But he also read books, wrote poetry, and dreamed of being an actor. Even in chaos, there was a spark of something more. Theater, poetry, and pain. At age 13, Tupac performed for the first time on stage, at Harlem's Apollo Theater. The crowd clapped. Something clicked. That same year, his mother moved them to Baltimore, Maryland for a fresh start. There, Tupac enrolled in the Baltimore School for the Arts. And it was there that everything changed. He studied ballet, jazz, Shakespeare. He acted. He wrote poems. He performed. He transformed. He met Jada Pinkett, who became one of his best friends. She would later say, "You only get a friendship like that once in a lifetime." For the first time, Tupac felt free. Not judged, not hunted, just alive. Moved to California. In 1988, his mother lost her job again. Struggling to stay clean, she moved the family to Marin City, California. Tupac thought California would be better, but it was worse. He found poverty again, deeper, colder. He watched his mother slip back into addiction. Their bond turned from mother-son to soldier-general. The house was filled with tension. Eventually, Tupac moved out. He was just a teenager. Homeless, broke, and surrounded by drug dealers and pimps, he tried to survive. But he wasn't just surviving. He was watching, writing, learning. He smoked weed. He hustled. But deep down, he wanted more. And what saved him was music. At 17, he met Layla Steinberg, who became his first manager. She introduced him to Atron Gregory, who helped Tupac join the hip-hop group Digital Underground. At first, he carried bags and did backup vocals. But soon, his raw energy began to shine. every after-party, every city. Tupac grabbed the mic and made sure people knew his name. In 1991, Interscope Records signed him. That same year, his debut album, Tupacalypse Now, dropped. It was raw, angry, real. Songs like Brenda's Got a Baby shocked the world, telling the heartbreaking true story of a 12-year-old girl who got pregnant by a family member and was abandoned. He rapped about police brutality, poverty, racism, and pain. It wasn't just music. It was a warning, a cry for help, a rapper with a message. Tupac wasn't just trying to make hit records. He wanted to wake people up. In an era of feel-good rap and party tracks, his music hit like a punch in the chest. His lyrics were filled with emotion. They talked about teen pregnancy, abuse, broken homes, corrupt cops, and forgotten people. He said, "I'm not saying I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee I will spark the brain that will." That's who Tupac was, a spark, a fire starter. But with fire comes danger. In 1991, Tupac was walking across the street in Oakland when cops stopped him for jaywalking. He demanded to know why. They didn't like that. So they slammed him face first into the pavement. He passed out, woke up in handcuffs, and was arrested. That moment changed him. He sued the Oakland police and won a small settlement. But he lost something else, his innocence. From that point on, Tupac was at war. And the world started paying attention. Vice President Dan Quayle tried to ban his album, blaming it for violence against police. The media labeled him dangerous, but for young people in the streets, Tupac was a hero. While his music exploded, Tupac started acting too. In 1992, he starred in Juice, playing Bishop, a troubled teen who loses his way. Tupac didn't just act the part, he lived it. He poured his own pain into the role, and it showed. He said filming Juice helped him feel like himself again. It gave him power, a place to channel his rage. Then came Poetic Justice with Janet Jackson. Tupac played Lucky, a sweet, caring young father. It was the opposite of Bishop, but it showed his range, not just as an actor, but as a man. Behind the tattoos and gold chains was a soft heart. The rise of thug life. Tupac coined the term thug life, but not how people think. To him, a thug wasn't a criminal. It was someone who had nothing and still survived. Someone born in poverty, abandoned by the system, but still found a way to live, to smile, to fight. He even broke it down. THUGLIFIA, the hate you give little infants, effies, everybody. It was a message. What we feed the youth is what grows in the world. Tupac tattooed Thug Life on his stomach. It was a movement, a code. He even helped create rules for street gangs to follow, to stop violence against women and children, to protect communities. But the media didn't get it. They saw tattoos, guns, and headlines. And that's all they wanted to show. As his fame grew, so did the chaos. Fights, legal troubles, accusations, pressure from fans, pressure from the industry. In 1993, Tupac was charged in a shooting involving off-duty police officers in Atlanta. The charges were dropped, but the damage was done. He also got into fights with directors. He was accused of assault. His image turned darker, more dangerous. Then came the biggest blow. He was accused of sexually assaulting a woman in a hotel room. Tupac denied it completely. He said it was a setup, that the people around him had betrayed him, but the jury found him guilty of sexual abuse. He was sentenced to prison. Behind bars, everything slowed down. The fame, the noise, the drama. Tupac was locked in Clinton Correctional Facility in upstate New York. He was alone with his thoughts and his pain. He felt betrayed by the media, by the people around him. maybe even by the industry. But prison didn't break him. Instead, it brought out something deeper: reflection, regret, growth. He wrote letters, poems, scripts. He read books. He looked inward. He told friends, "I see now that I was out of control. I was too angry, too wild, but I want to change. I want to build." He wasn't done yet. He had more to say, more to give. Dear Mama, a son's apology. From prison, Tupac released his most personal track ever, Dear Mama. It was a letter to his mother, a woman who had been through hell and still loved him, even when she was lost in addiction. Even as a crack fiend, Mama, you always was a black queen, Mama. That line hit millions of people in the heart. Everyone who had struggled. Everyone who loved their mom but didn't know how to show it. The song was raw, honest, and real. It became one of Tupac's biggest hits, and it made people see a different side of him. He wasn't a monster. He was a son, a deal with the devil, Suge Knight, and death row. While Tupac sat in his cell, broke and waiting for appeal, a call came from Suge Knight, the feared CEO of Death Row Records. Suge offered to post Tupac's $1.4 million bail. But there was a price. Tupac had to sign a deal. 3 albums with Death Row. Tupac agreed. He wanted freedom. He wanted a studio. He wanted revenge. In October 1995, he walked out of prison. And almost immediately, he went to work. In just 2 weeks, he recorded 24 tracks. He poured out everything: the pain, the anger, the hunger, the fury. This was a man reborn, but also a man on edge. Tupac's comeback single, California Love, dropped in 1995. It exploded across radio stations and TV screens. He was back, bigger, louder, and more powerful than ever. The video was epic, like a Mad Max movie in the desert. The world couldn't get enough. The track hit #1 on the Billboard charts. Everyone was watching, but behind the success, the war was building. The East Coast versus West Coast war. Tupac believed that Biggie Smalls and P. Diddy had known about the 1994 shooting, that they didn't warn him, maybe even helped plan it. So, Tupac went public. He gave interviews, dissed them in songs, and then he dropped a bomb. Hit 'em up. First off, fuck your bod, and the click you claim. It wasn't just a diss track, it was a declaration of war. The East Coast-West Coast rivalry, already simmering, exploded. Fans took sides. Gangs got involved. It wasn't just music anymore, it was blood. Tupac had millions of fans, but now he had even more enemies. Death Row Records wasn't just a label, it was a war zone. Suge Knight ran it like a gangster. And now Tupac, the poet from Harlem, was deep inside that world. He had money, cars, power, but he also had paranoia. He trusted no one. Tupac once said, "They want me dead. I'm not going to live long, so I record like I'm running out of time." And he was, trying to escape the life. Despite the chaos, Tupac was planning an escape. He wanted to leave Death Row, start his own label, focus on movies, build a future. He was in love with Kidada Jones, the daughter of music legend Quincy Jones. They talked about having kids, moving away, starting fresh. He told his old drama teacher he wanted to return to acting, maybe even work on Shakespeare again. He had hope, a plan. But before he could leave, before he could be free, it all ended. The Last Ride. It was September 7th, 1996. Tupac was in Las Vegas, there to watch a Mike Tyson boxing match. He arrived in high spirits, smiling, laughing, surrounded by friends and Death Row crew. That night, everything felt alive. He was dressed in a white suit, gold chains shining. People took pictures. He was still the biggest star in the room. After the fight, Tupac and Suge Knight drove down the Vegas Strip in a black BMW. Tupac sat in the passenger seat. Windows down, music loud, lights flashing. Then, it happened. A white Cadillac pulled up next to them at a red light. In a split second, a hand came out with a gun. 4 bullets hit Tupac, 2 in the chest, 1 in his arm, 1 in his thigh. He collapsed. The hospital and the waiting game Tupac was rushed to University Medical Center. He was still alive, barely. Doctors fought for his life. He was placed on machines. His right lung was removed. He drifted in and out of consciousness. His mother, Afeni, stood by his side. Friends, fans, and media gathered outside the hospital. For 6 days, the world waited. Then, on September 13, 1996, at 4:03 p.m., Tupac Shakur was pronounced dead. He was just 25 years old. The news broke hearts everywhere. Fans cried. Cities mourned. Murals were painted overnight. His music blasted from every car and corner store. People couldn't believe it. Some still don't. Who killed Tupac? To this day, Tupac's murder is unsolved. No one has been officially charged. Some believe it was a gang hit, retaliation for a fight Tupac had just hours earlier. Others say it was the FBI, or Death Row, or the East Coast crew. Some even believe Tupac faked his death and fled to Cuba. The truth? No one really knows. But here's what we do know. Tupac saw it coming. He told friends, "I'm not gonna make it past 25. He said he felt hunted, cursed, trapped. After Tupac died, his voice didn't fade. In fact, it got louder. His posthumous album, Don Killuminati, The 7-Day Theory, dropped under his new name, Machiavelli. It was dark, spiritual, and angry. Tupac had recorded it just weeks before his death. More albums followed, unreleased tracks, demos, remixes. He kept dropping hits, even from the grave. His words lived on. Tupac's message, still alive. Today, Tupac wasn't just a rapper. He was a mirror. He showed us America's wounds, poverty, racism, violence, pain. But he also showed us love, joy, strength, hope. He told the truth, even when it hurt. He cried for mothers, for kids, for the ghetto, for the lost. He taught us that it's okay to be angry and to still want peace, that it's okay to be broken and still be powerful, that even when the world forgets you, your story matters. Tupac lives forever. It's been decades since Tupac left us, but his music, his message, his spirit, still here. Tupac lives in the hearts of every young poet, every fighter, every dreamer who grew up with nothing but still believes in something. He was more than a rapper, more than a legend. He was a revolution wrapped in rhymes, and his voice, still loud. Closing narration, emotional tone. Tupac Shakur, the man who walked through fire with a pen in his hand and the world on his shoulders. You may be gone, Pac, but we still hear you. Every time we fight, every time we rise, every time we speak truth in a world full of lies, you're still here.